Dan, as you can see behind me, the Pentagon is still smoldering from that direct hit it suffered this morning, but it's finally cooled down enough so that rescue workers can begin the task of recovering the dead and wounded. One early count put the number of dead at 20, but no one expects it to stop there.
That was David Martin reporting. 184 people lost their lives at that location after hijackers took control of American Airlines Flight 77 and crashed it into the Pentagon on September 11th, 2001. Flight 77 was the third plane to strike its target during the attacks. The September 11th attacks propelled the United States into war in Afghanistan and Iraq, forever changing Homeland and international counterterrorism tactics and policy. David Martin joins me now from the Pentagon with more. He's CBS News national security correspondent. David, welcome. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Before we get into some of the specifics of policy, I just want to get your reflections on what it was like to be in that building on September 11th, 2001. I remember it very vividly. I was a new reporter in Washington, been there less than a year, and from our perch at 1600 I Street, I could see the smoke rising from the Pentagon, and I could not understand what was happening. What was it like to be in the place that was the symbol of our nation's military might as it burned because of this attack?
Well, it was still unthinkable to me, even after I knew that the two planes had gone into the towers in New York. I was physically driving across the Potomac over Memorial Bridge when something caught my eye out of off to the left, and I looked, and there was the pillar of smoke going up. I bet you what caught my eye was the movement of the plane, but it happened so fast that it didn't register, and so I saw that pillar of smoke going up, and it took me about 2 minutes to park my car and then run as fast as I could around the building, and you come around that corner and you see that face of the building. And what I saw were a lawn just filled with people lying about with all sorts of injuries. You could see skin sloughing off where they'd been burned, paramedics just beginning to arrive. And then you, of course, saw the hole in the building and the fires that resulted. That plane was carrying 7,000 gallons of jet fuel, and because the Pentagon, that portion of the Pentagon had just been renovated, it had been reinforced. The outer wall had been reinforced with tubular steel, which it had not been used in the original construction. So that plane really disintegrated on impact, and of course that just exploded the fuel that was in the wing tanks and sent up a 200-foot fireball. And, you know, I was not a new reporter then. I'd been working for probably 20 years at that point, but I'd never been at the scene of a disaster as it was occurring. And so I kept telling myself, don't make a rookie mistake. And the rookie mistake that was just waiting to be made was to assume that was an airplane without having somebody either tell me they saw an airplane go in there or my finding a piece of wreckage. And I found the wreckage first. Actually, I didn't find it. I tripped over it. And there was a I don't know, 2-foot piece long part of the fuselage with the clear American Airlines color scheme on it. And from the moment it hit, it was just another 38 minutes before the building collapsed. And when the building collapsed, you could tell that anybody still in there was just not going to make it out. And I remember being on the air. I actually had a cell phone connection. Being on the air with Dan Rather, who was our anchor in New York at the time, and starting to tell him that the Pentagon had just collapsed when he cut me off because it was at that moment that one of the towers in New York collapsed.
It's just hard to imagine that it has been 20 years since 9/11, because the memories of that day, as I'm listening to you, are so fresh, really, and raw still, I think. One of the things that I remember is this atmosphere of unity in Washington and in the country in those days afterwards. And it was shortly after the 9/11 attacks, as you know, that President George W. Bush sent troops to Afghanistan to hunt down al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. There was a sense of bipartisan unity. And then a couple of years later, in 2003, the United States invaded Iraq. And I wonder, David, if you can talk a bit about how those different operations sort of evolved over time, and especially now with what we're seeing in the withdrawal of Afghanistan, how it was that the initial sort of mission for Afghanistan in particular really kind of became something quite different than what was initially laid out.
I'll answer that, but before I do, let me tell you a great unity story I heard just this week from a survivor from the Pentagon. She was in the hospital, and her parents, who lived in Louisiana, did not know what had happened to her. So they drove 26 hours nonstop from Louisiana to Washington, D.C. to go looking for their daughter. They didn't spend a dime on the way up, because every time they stopped for gas, every time they stopped for food, they said they were on their way to Washington to find their daughter, who was at the Pentagon, and people just picked up the tab. You wonder if that would happen today. But
it's hard, I think, to describe to people who have seen what's happened, but that is a remarkable show and an example of that sense of unity I was talking about.
Yeah, but let me get to your question about Afghanistan and Iraq. I have not talked to a single official who does not say that the decision to invade Iraq took away both resources and brain power from Afghanistan. And it just, the whole attention of the United States military was suddenly directed in another direction, away from Afghanistan. And this, the invasion of Iraq was in March of 2003, but planning began really very shortly after 9/11, and then really picked up speed throughout 2002. So Iraq had was capturing people's attention right from the very start. And then, of course, when Iraq turned out not to be the cakewalk that everybody thought it was going to be, then it really started sucking up resources. And at one point, we had 130,000 troops in Iraq. And the U.S. the Pentagon had to extend the deployments from the normal 1 year to 15 months in combat in Iraq, just to keep enough troops in Iraq, still knowing it didn't have enough troops in Afghanistan. And in Afghanistan, they started using the euphemism, it's an economy of force operation. And if you ever hear that term again, economy of force means you don't have enough troops. And we didn't have enough troops. And the Bush administration, in its final year, finally started to realize that it had to get serious again about Afghanistan, or the Taliban was going to make a comeback. Of course, we now know that the Taliban did make a comeback. It just took them about 12 more years before they did it.
All right. Well, David Martin, I'm afraid we are out of time, but I'm really glad that we had a chance to talk to you. As I said, really remarkable to think that it has been 20 years since that day. David Martin at the Pentagon. David, thank you.
Sure.
CBSN and CBS News will continue to provide stories about the 20 years since September 11th, including some special programs. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, you can stream 26th Street Garage, the FBI's untold story, on Paramount+. On Friday, CBSN New York presents Never Forgotten, 9/11, 20 years later. That is at 7 p.m. Eastern. And at 8 p.m. Eastern, CBS News will broadcast Race Against Time, the CIA and 9/11.